This is a jingle. This is our jingle.
Welcome to The Culture Edit, your weekly roundup of all things work and culture. Hosted by Nikki and Chad Strickland, co-founders of Niche Culture, a strategic consultancy and creative agency helping some of the world's top brands define, articulate, and promote their culture to their employees and the world. Welcome to episode 10. This is a big one because we know that, 80% of podcasts don't make it past the 10th episode. So here we are. It's pretty exciting.
You guaranteed we would.
And not only are we at episode 10, but to celebrate this, grand achievement, we're recording from Moab, Utah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting.
We're in a tent.
We are. We're in a, well, it's a tent. It's nicer than most hotel rooms. There's a full shower, bathroom, kitchen, all the things, air conditioning.
Glamping.
So it is the ultimate glamping at Ulum Resorts, which they're the same people that own Under Canvas. If you've ever been to an Under Canvas, it's their more elevated, high-end brand that they just created.
It's their luxury brand.
Yep. So yeah, it's been cool. It's been a really cool experience, and it's fun because we're sitting here recording this podcast and we're looking out at Looking Glass Rock, which we didn't know, but is apparently a really famous rock formation with
a hole in it. And we climbed up to the Looking Glass hole.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, the climb up there wasn't terrifying. It was the climb down.
It's always the climb down.
I don't know. I've been having issues with heights on this trip, which is weird because normally I don't have any issues with being scared of heights. But I think trying to descend on gravel bikes into the white rim, which apparently is, people just don't do that unless you're on like a mountain bike or a four-wheeler, was so terrifying that it got in my mind that I was really scared.
Yeah, if you're curious, definitely look this up. The White Rim Road.
Yeah, White Rim Road.
In Canyonlands National Park. There's a switchback descent at the beginning, and I don't know, it feels like you're a mile up. I think it was like 7,000 feet, 8,000 feet, and you can just see over the edge, and it looks like you could easily just slide off.
You could. You could easily just, it's not like there's anything keeping you from, if you crash your bike, sliding off the side of the mountain.
So we got a mile and a half into the descent, and you just said no.
Well, as soon as we got to the, 12 to 15% grade switchback part on gravel with sand and loose rocks, it was, and it wasn't nice. I mean, it was like super rocky washboards. It just, it didn't feel, not that riding your bike ever feels safe, but it pushed past the limits of what I'm willing to do.
Yeah, and apparently now I've heard from lots of folks that have come out here, they think we were crazy for even trying to do that.
Yeah, made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. But it still was a great day because then we just rode through Canyonlands.
Yeah,
on the road.
If you're on your bike or car, just even riding on the paved parts to all the different lookout points is spectacular. So then yesterday we decided we were going to try and ride through Arches National Park, which is probably the most famous national park out here.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. But, we don't have any friends that live in Moab, which is honestly kind of unusual because typically when we travel places, we do have friends that live there or someone that we know that can recommend a cycling route. So we're going in, on Strava, on Ride with GPS, trying to find some routes that locals use. So Chad found a couple, I found a few, and I found one that seemed good because it was like 35 miles and then you could add on more. And it went through kind of the middle of Arches on a gravel path, or what we thought was a gravel path. And the guy in the description's like, gravel, like amazing gravel route, like do this all the time.
Well, it's a gravel route to Arches, but it cuts through Utah Raptor State Park.
Yeah.
And so there's no road.
Yeah, well, it's a sand road.
It's a beach.
It's a beach.
And then it turned to rocks and more beach.
It was like if you took Stone Mountain, for those of you they're from Georgia, if you took Stone Mountain and then like covered it in beach sand at certain parts, so you're like trying to ride over slippery rock with beach sand. And the problem is the sand was deceptive. It didn't look like it was deep. And then all of a sudden you were just riding into a sand pit and it was like 6 to 12 inches deep. And we all know that we can't ride through that.
No, we had to walk between 5 to 10 miles of the 30 miles that we did.
It was a lot. I mean, I would say we spent at least an hour walking.
Yeah. You declared it worst ride ever.
It was pretty terrible. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's ever been a more miserable ride.
Because it was 115 degrees. Also.
Yeah.
And there's no shade.
If it hadn't been so hot, I don't think it would have been as bad, but it was just, there was no shade. We were hiding under a tree, like a tiny little tree at one point because it was just so hot. It felt like death.
You were wearing all black.
Well, yeah, it
You
was
had to look good.
It's a thin jersey and you have to prioritize looks over everything. So
yeah, but we were hiding, looking for shade, hiding under trees.
Conserving
water, hiding under signs.
Yeah.
Like the Arches sign.
And then we saw giant mountain lion footprints that were fresh because it had rained the day before and like through the night. So we knew that they had to at least have been there early morning or during the day.
Yeah, so I turned around. I'd gone ahead. I turned around and you were literally running. You were running with your bike over your shoulder like it was like crosses coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you running? And you said I think there's a mountain lion tracking us.
Because the paw prints were right on the side of the road, and I had seen a couple other paw prints, but I hadn't looked that closely. And I was like, this is the perfect scenario. Like if I'm putting myself into the paws of a mountain lion, and I see me, I'm the weakling straggling behind. You've already left me. I'm thinking this is a tasty weak morsel.
You were convinced. You were
Yeah,
100% convinced there was a mountain lion tracking us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we don't know that there wasn't because those paw tracks were fresh.
Well, but then you made me paranoid, so then I started looking over my shoulder the whole time and almost crashing and looking for the mountain lion stalking us.
Well, but think about a mountain lion. It's like, first of all, they're 170 pounds is what I read.
Yeah.
And I think to all these little, house cats, and anyone that's had a house cat, like, they're kind of assholes. Like, they sneak up on you. They'll like hit you with their paw. They're not like, hey, I'm here like a dog. They're always sneaking around. So I'm just thinking, like, imagine this 170, 180 pound cat sneaking up on me. And we're riding through all this brush, like kind of low level brush.
Desert brush. Yeah.
Desert brush. There's a cat. There's a giant cat hiding. And as soon as I ride by, it's just going to straight up like take me off my bike.
And for those of you that don't follow this, there are lots of documented cases of mountain lions killing mountain bikers, attacking them. Like it's happened most recently in California. Like literally just attack them right in front of their friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they don't even realize you're a human if you're on a bike. And so I think if you were walking, you might be less likely to get attacked. But we look like an animal. And then I look like a weak animal.
Yeah.
Like a sad, hot, weak, slow animal.
I don't know about a weak animal, but yeah.
I feel that way.
Yeah, but we survived. We made it Arches. It was a terrible climb there, but the descent from Arches National Park was amazing.
Yeah, it was really pretty.
It's like you're on a different planet, completely different planet.
Well, and we kept getting buzzed by all these people in their RVs, and we had to have looked so crazy. I mean, it was like in the hundreds.
They wouldn't even get out of their car to take a picture.
Oh yeah, these Tourons are like, it's too hot to hike to the lookout point, which is like 100 feet from their vehicle, and we're just on our bikes dying 1,000 deaths. I mean, I almost pulled over and asked someone for water because I had like a heat rash all over my body, so I was pretty sure I was dying.
Yeah.
Even though I probably wasn't, but I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac.
And that wasn't the only near miss with the animal kingdom. I almost stepped on a rattlesnake too.
Yeah, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you probably saw my story so we're walking on this path, it's nighttime, pitch black, Chad has a flashlight, and all of a sudden I hear a rattlesnake. And being from Central Florida, and we had like a rattlesnake problem when I was growing up in our backyard, so I knew what this sounded like. And
we had a rattlesnake problem.
Well, like we had horses and stuff, so I don't know why we had a rattle. It doesn't matter. But my dad will be like, we did. He'll remember. And so I hear the rattlesnake, and it was loud, like really loud.
It was dark, by the way. This is on the hike back from Looking Glass, when we climbed Looking Glass, and we were hiking basically through the desert back to Ulum.
Yeah. So like I had already up to this point had a mini meltdown when we were descending into the White Rim where I thought I was going to die. Then we decided to go climb Looking Glass Rock where all the professional rock climbers go at night. So it was dark. So then I have a mini meltdown trying to get down from this rock. Like I'm thinking, I'm never seeing Hutch and Emmy again. I'm dying. This is where I die. And Chad is like using his hands to like prop, like so I can stand on his hands to get down because I didn't have good hiking shoes.
I'm glad you acknowledged that I went below you and literally let you stand on my hands.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So this is all the same day.
So this is all the same day. So I'm mentally not stable. Like I'm a thin glass waiting to be dropped. And then I hear the rattlesnake and you almost step on it. And I'm like, babe, there's a rattlesnake. And you start saying, oh no, that's just crickets.
I thought it was a grasshopper.
A grasshopper. I'm like, I have never heard a grasshopper make that noise. I don't know what, but like, you're kind of deaf. So the part of me was like, he can't hear.
I am 50%.
Yeah. And like growing up with like my dad is very hard of hearing too, as you know.
Yeah.
Growing up with a parent who's pretty hard of hearing, now you're hard of hearing. It's like I'm surrounded by people that just don't understand what I'm talking about because I hear well.
So I turned on the flashlight and Mr. Rattlesnake was
He was in striking position.
in striking mode right by my leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're welcome for saving your life.
Yeah, thanks. Because that would have been a bummer for the trip.
Well, it was payback. You know, you let me stand on your hands and I saved you from a rattlesnake.
That's true. Yeah.
It's all good. We're just trying to make it home to the dogs. That's all. We're just out here trying to survive our vacation.
I love that that's what you think about every time it's like a terrible situation.
Well, I mean, it's like the only thing that I have close to kids. I think if I had kids, I wouldn't do anything because that would just really send me over the edge mentally. So yeah, the dogs are my life.
That's true. So Moab's been amazing despite
it doesn't sound like, you know.
I mean, we're definitely coming back. It's
100%.
blown us away. We keep talking about it like I think it's better than the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I think there's more to do. Definitely more to do.
It's easier to, I mean, we haven't camped or like necessarily hiked through the Grand Canyon, but we did a helicopter ride and we've driven through it. I think this is just easier to get to. And also there's not as many tourists. I mean, there really weren't that many people in the parks. It was pretty awesome because you could walk up to all the lookout points really easily. You could do all the hiking trails really easily. Yeah,
so we've ridden our bikes and we've hiked, but you can, like, people do ATVs and 4x4s and the whole river. I mean, the Colorado River rafting, 1,000% coming back.
Yeah, because I feel like we didn't really get to experience what Moab has to offer. We were trying to kind of do our own thing on the bike.
Yeah, so Moab's been amazing. We didn't even close out Park City. So we're going Park City, Moab, and now we're about to, as soon as we get done recording this, pack up our bags and drive to Steamboat. Park City, though, also we loved. Amazing. It's
just grown so much in the time. Like, we haven't been there in about, I don't know, 8 years or something. And it's grown so much. But I think I really, really liked it. I totally see why people live there. I mean, it's beautiful.
100%. Tons to do there as well. Tons of shopping, unfortunately, for Nikki.
One of my favorite boutiques I've ever been into. And I am not a big in-person shopping type of gal. I prefer to do online shopping, order a bunch of stuff, and then just like return the things I don't like. Mainly because I hate the sales associate process, like that pressure of buying stuff. Because I always buy something I don't want because I'm a people pleaser. So I'm like, oh, she said it was cute. Like, I guess I need to buy it now. And I don't like that pressure. So I went into this cake boutique, is the one in Park City that I really liked. The sales associates were very chill. They did not.
Shout out to Cake Boutique.
Yeah, shout out to Cake Boutique. They were just like, I mean, they're helpful, but they're not like pushy, which is nice. But the stuff there was really cool. It's definitely like, it's kind of like that mid-tier higher end. I mean, I guess it depends on perspective, but like Isabel Marant, like she has more of like a rock and roll Western style, I would call it. I don't know how, she's French, so I'm not sure that's how she would describe herself, but
we can ask her. We should have her on the pod.
Totally. But it was my style through and through throughout the whole store, and I loved it.
That was the highlight of Park City.
It really was. I got some rag and bone jeans that I've been living in.
My highlight was High West and the fact that we were there for 3 days and we went to High West 5 times.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, we are creatures of habit, so that's on us, but it's so good.
So we had dinner our last night there with our friend Steven Zapide, who used to live in Atlanta, who now live in Park City. And we saw a special moment at High West.
I've been showing people this video so much because it still blows my mind. We're sitting at dinner, just out on the patio, and a giant moose. Like, do they call a male moose a bull? Is that?
Yeah, it was
a bull.
Yeah. He was massive.
Massive, like easily 1,000 pounds. Walks up the sidewalk past the restaurant. Like, we're all just sitting having dinner, and the moose is like 10 to 20 feet away from us, just casually strolling up the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And I was thinking,
on a Monday night.
On a Monday night, and there's a lot of people out, and so people were running, like filming, and apparently, they're supposedly really aggressive, but this was not. He wasn't acting aggressive in any way.
He was chill.
And he just walked all the way up Main Street.
Yeah, just straight up Main Street. No big deal.
All I can think is that I was like, maybe someone leaves their dog food out and like the moose is just going to like someone's front porch.
You immediately start theorizing why the moose is just walking down the sidewalk.
Is he sick? Does he need help?
Right.
Like, why would this? Well, because why would a moose walk up a sidewalk in the middle of like the peak dinner time in Park City. It's so crazy.
And so we have friends that go to Park City all the time and have never seen a moose.
And that live there and never seen a moose.
I'm 2 for 2 on Park City trips for moose sightings because last time
You had a moose standoff.
I was climbing Guardsman's Pass and at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and a moose was standing in the middle of the road, and we had a standoff.
Yeah, but you got around. You skirted around him before he could kick you.
I just slowly rode by him, and he just looked at me, probably within 10 feet, and we just went on our own way.
I kind of feel like maybe the moose, because there's so much activity in Park City and so many people now, maybe they're a little bit just more used to people. Like, they're not as aggressive towards people because they know that they're not going to be harmed necessarily. I'm sure if you went really close, they would kick the crap out of you, but...
A nicer moose.
Yeah.
Nicer, friendly moose. A meese.
A little meese.
Yeah.
Well, they're like the apex non-predator because they're not really a predator, but they're definitely at the apex where...
Nothing's messing with them.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of things messing with a giant moose.
Yeah.
So, maybe a mountain lion.
So, yeah, maybe a mountain lion. Lots of animals on this trip.
A lot of animals. Not necessarily the animals I want to cuddle or pet, because everyone keeps saying, like, oh, it's a milp, a moose I like to pet, but I'm not sure if I want to pet the moose or the mountain lion or the rattlesnake.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else on Park City?
Everyone had really cute dogs there.
Yeah.
That was the best, honestly, one of the best parts is
Off-leash dilps.
everywhere you go, it's off-leash dilps, dogs I like to pet, for those that don't know what dilp stands for. Everywhere. Just so well behaved, so good. I mean, it makes the Atlanta dogs look like complete loony bin animals because you can't even, the dogs in Atlanta act like complete a-holes and they're just on leash, trying to bite everyone, trying to bark at everything. These dogs in Park City, angels.
Yeah, they were really nice.
But everyone does have a quote unquote smart dog though. Like you're not seeing a lot of like Chihuahuas and stuff out there. You're really
no Pomeranians.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Chewy.
Just smart dogs.
Mean Pomeranian.
Smart dogs. So shepherds and Australian shepherds,
Yeah.
Australian cattle dog, collies, a lot of collies.
A lot of working dogs.
Yeah, a lot of
which
working
makes
dogs.
sense out there. So good though.
Anything else on Park City?
I don't think so. I mean
No Name Saloon.
Yeah,
Spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, I mean it was the only place where we could actually get a drink without having to order food. I mean the Utah liquor rules. I mean obviously we already knew that this was a thing, but like
Not to this extent.
you
though.
get ID. They scan your ID at every single restaurant, bar.
Like our friends from Florida, like Florida Man,
Yeah.
like Todd, Ned, and them, like they would not be down with having their license scanned and keeping track of every every bar you're going into.
Yeah, it's pretty well, and I was throwing everyone off because I didn't have my driver's license with me. I just had my
Your global entry.
my global entry ID, which is, it's a passport basically.
Several times though they paused on whether or not they were going to take the federal ID.
Well, because they couldn't scan it,
Yeah.
so it was like throwing them off their routine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh god, here we go. But yeah, it was kind of strange. I mean, it didn't bother me that much, but
Yeah, a lot of weird rules. Another thing that was interesting to us that we didn't know was that all of the liquor stores and wine shops are government or state owned.
yeah.
And
So it's like state liquor store number 5.
Yeah, and so going in to get wine in Park City, the wine selection in Moab was exactly the same. There was no difference.
Yeah, like they
And wine
only let certain distributors in, I guess, or
Very
certain,
limited. Like
and
very
not
limited.
great though.
No,
Like-
not great, very limited. And then we noticed the same thing here at Ulum. They're carrying the same exact wine
Yeah.
that's in the wine store or the liquor store.
Yeah.
Obviously at a much elevated price.
Annoyingly elevated, I will say. Five times the cost
yeah.
of the liquor store.
But it was that was news to us that we didn't know that it was that tightly controlled, and it's just so many different like little rules that for 2023 is kind of crazy. And if you think about service hospitality industry like Ulum, having to work around that, I'm sure that's very frustrating. Although the pool thing, we haven't talked about the pool. Like we love Ulum, but they don't allow you to have a drink by the pool.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's weird, and I wonder. We still haven't quite figured out, is this like a state rule or?
We looked it up. It's not.
Well, no, but then we went to that other place, the bike place, and they didn't allow alcohol by the pool either.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if maybe there's like some other legal thing we're not aware of. But either way, it's a pretty big miss because when you pay a decent amount of money to stay at a place and you get done with your long bike ride or hike and you just want to sit by the pool and have a nice rosé and you can't. They're like, nope, sorry. No food, no drinks, nothing by the pool.
So for all of you, before you get mad at us and you come here thinking that you're coming to a 5-star resort and you're going to hang out by the pool and have a drink, we are not recommending it for that because you can't do that here.
Yeah.
But maybe our friends at Ulum can give us a shout out and help us understand why.
Yeah, because I mean, we asked some of the employees, and they didn't understand
know.
why either. So, yeah, I mean, that I would say everything has been amazing. That was just like that's a pretty weird thing.
Yeah, very strange. So we're headed to Steamboat.
Headed to Steamboat in, well, less than an hour, so we actually need to hurry.
We got a nice short 5-hour drive ahead of us, but it is going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it'll be beautiful. It gives me time to edit this podcast because I got to get it done before we actually get to Steamboat.
Yeah, because I think we mentioned this before. We have a whole group of people from Atlanta that we've kind of helped organize to come out for the second year in a row and to do this bike race called Steamboat Gravel, which Nikki and I have done almost all of the big gravel races other than Unbound. Steamboat is at the top, probably with the Rebecca's Private Idaho. We're really looking forward to this weekend, seeing our friends. We got a big Airbnb downtown.
Right on Yampa,
yeah,
on the river.
Got a few folks staying with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
So we're going to Salt and Lime tonight for dinner. We have like a group of 10. That'll be really fun.
Yeah.
And then shakeout ride tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Take it easy because Chad loves to just get lost.
We might add a few miles on.
No, I'm not.
Me and Alan will add a few miles on.
No, because even Alan was like, I'm not doing the long ride with Chad before the day of the race.
Is that Alan voice?
Well, I actually started doing the Alan voice, but then I realized no one knows what the Alan voice is, so then I kind of pulled it back.
Okay. Well, maybe, yeah, we'll see. But shout out to race director Micah Rice. Can't wait to see him and all the help he's given us in getting our group there.
Getting our unorganized group to Steamboat.
Yeah, we'll report back on the escapades. We're both doing the 100-mile option. I'm not doing the 140 this time.
Yeah, I did the 100 last year, and it was so fun. It's obviously hard no matter what, but it was just an enjoyable day, and I did it by myself, so I kind of just hopped around different groups. And
Which you say you prefer.
Well, this is the thing. So if I'm by myself, which I end up finding groups to ride with, I find a group that is going at the pace that I know is sustainable. But when I ride with you or, your friends, our friends, who are going a lot harder than I want to go, it makes for a much more stressful day because then I'm like, if I'm not with people I know, if I don't feel like going hard up a climb, I just sit up and go at my own pace. If I'm with you all, you're like, we'll wait for you at the top. And like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fun.
So you're just telling me now not to ride with you?
Well, you can ride with me, but I don't want to go out guns blazing because I have my method of like pacing slower in the beginning and then going a lot harder at the end.
Oh.
Like, that's my thing.
I have a hard time not going out guns blazing.
Well, you can just go without me then. I make plenty of friends every time I ride by myself.
Yeah, that's true.
I roll in with like 20 new friends.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about John Trainer, the feedback from John Trainers?
Stay on the cycling theme so far that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So great feedback from our last episode with John Trainer, CTO of Wahoo. Of course, John has been very actively engaged in promoting and sharing the episode, but also he's very actively engaged in wanting to know how he's doing versus other episodes.
Yeah.
So John, you're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing great. You're killing it.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Like, sidebar, if you ever go on a podcast, like anyone listening out there,
Oh boy.
please, no, I mean, just one thing, like, please share the podcast that you're on because the people recording and editing, like, it's a lot of work and it takes hours and hours of your life. And for us in particularly, we're very passionate about it. So we're not just like, I think people think we hired some like, podcast like minion to edit everything. No, it's
Minion.
like a little, minion in the podcast closet trying to just like edit away at night.
Okay.
But it's not like we are doing this on weekends. I'm editing at like super late at night or super early in the morning because like we have
But you would never let anyone else edit.
Well,
so
I'm not. No, that wasn't my point. My
Okay.
point is that people.
Your point is people should help share it if
Yeah,
you're
if
coming
you-
on it. Yeah.
yeah, if you're
I
on
don't
a
know why
po-
you wouldn't.
It's a weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But John was great. John was posting
Yeah.
everywhere. And
My point is he's like he's the epitome of someone that has gone above and beyond to share it.
Yeah. Lots of feedback around John, talking about the culture and the journey at Wahoo. I think a lot of people were very enlightened and interested about that because I think there were I think a lot of people had made assumptions about what had happened with Wahoo in the last year and a half. And so to hear him talk through that and to talk through how much leadership truly cares about the organization and its people and making the right decisions, I got a lot of people that reached out to me that were like, that was so awesome to hear that from him.
Yeah, it gave a lot of clarity, I think.
And the transparency, because John is so genuine that I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was a great employer branding episode.
It really was. Yeah, it's definitely a go work at Wahoo because they're a great company.
What else is going on in the world?
Let's see. Switching gears. So I don't know if anyone's been following. This is a little bit of pop culture, but Bobbi Altholff, her drama around her podcast. So I started following Bobbi, I think in 2020 during the pandemic is when she mostly started creating her content. And it was all like comedian, female, like mom. So it's really funny. Like her content, you can't even see it anymore because she deleted all of it, which is weird. But her original content was pretty entertaining for, I think, women. Guys might not care so much. But then she somehow parlayed that into recently a podcast, and one of her first big interviews was with Drake. And so people have probably seen, if you're on TikTok.
This came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. Like she's making jokes about like how she's named her kids Concrete and Richard, and they're both girls. And then all of a sudden, and like that's like a side comedian thing. And then all of a sudden she's interviewing Drake in like a bed when they're drinking. It was like so out of nowhere and so weird.
For those of you that haven't seen it, she has a really unique deadpan style interview style.
Well, it's like super uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable, asking uncomfortable questions and not reacting. But we later found out that it's just an act.
Yeah.
Then she's gone on like the Today Show and said, well, no, that's an act. And
which I think she should have just done full like method actor for like the rest of her life.
And the reason we're even talking about this is because it's become such a huge pop culture phenomenon. And the debate is whether or not she is an industry plant.
I was saying no at first, but now I think she is.
An industry plant is someone that effectively has been created by the industry that they're in, the media that they're in.
Yeah, to make money.
So an example would be if Spotify saw her TikTok and said, oh, she's talented, let's then have her, let's create a podcast around her. We'll align all of our guests to go on there and she can act this way and people will think that's really what she's like. But then I think the mistake was when she said that it was just an act. Well, so now there's been a ton of drama around it, right?
Well, I think the mistake was thinking that a normal person can just all of a sudden be shot into the spotlight at this level and be able to handle it, because she recently came on. So somehow everything about Drake got deleted. So that caused like a bunch of controversy around what happened. Then people started rumors about saying she cheated on her husband with Drake. And so I'm just thinking like this poor girl has been shot from like a normal life with 2 kids. I don't know where she lives, maybe California, and a husband, and she says like they don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Into this extreme spotlight. And then the first thing that starts happening is she's cheating on her husband and they're getting divorced. I mean, that's if you don't have a significant support system around you to be like, just ignore the media, ignore the drama, ignore the people saying these terrible things about you, it would be really hard.
But it's so crazy though to think like I have a podcast out of nowhere. One of the third person I interview is Drake, and now I've just deleted it.
Yeah.
Like within like weeks. It's a very weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check it out.
Yeah, just Google it. It's kind of interesting. Your kids probably already know about it.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny? Like imagine like someone hearing this and then checking out about Bobbi Altholff and then like just dropping that knowledge on their kids without the kids knowing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You'd be the cool parent.
Yeah.
So then a couple more things. So NCL Denver and NCL Denver just happened.
Yeah, it was last weekend.
It seems like it was a big success.
Yeah.
A lot of entertainment media came out of that, and it looked really fun.
Yeah. NCL's National Cycling League. If you go back to one of our previous episodes where we interview the CEO, Andrea Pagnanelli.
Was it episode 5, I think?
Episode 5.
Yeah, episode 5. And then National Cycling League, their final race is in Atlanta this weekend.
This coming Sunday, yeah.
We have a lot of friends going. People are really excited about it. Thank you. Shout out to Kelly and Erica, who have been trying to get all of our friends who forgot to sign up by the deadline onto the list. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, even though we sent multiple emails to our invite list for the VIP experience, they just missed all the deadlines. So thanks for that. We got Scott DeMeyer, Jeff Jones, Goose.
You created more work for us on vacation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, Scott registered.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Michael.
Michael.
Yeah. So
Although
they're all going.
Goose did register for general admission. He
Yeah,
just
yeah.
forgot to register for VIP because it was a little confusing.
Yeah.
And shout out to Goose Quentin because he has been taking care of our dogs this whole time. And Emmy,
Which is always a drama.
which is always a drama. And like for those of you that don't know, Emmy had to have surgery on her ear literally right before he left. And then it seemed like maybe it was getting infected, so he had to take her to the emergency vet. It's just, I feel terrible, and part of me just wanted to fly home and take care of it. But we appreciate him so much because there's not a lot of people that will help you out like that in life.
He loves to take our dogs to the vet.
Yeah, I feel so bad.
Yeah.
It's always something with them. Do we want to dive into some of the Culture Edit articles?
Yeah, so the newsletter does not stop. And so this week in the newsletter, I think one of the most interesting things to click on and take a look at. By the way, if you don't know, we have a newsletter called the Culture Edit, which is really the origin of this podcast. If you don't subscribe to the newsletter, go to our website, nicheculture.com, and subscribe to the newsletter. It's a very popular newsletter. This week, there's an article from Harvard Business Review about building a culture where employees feel free to speak up. And effectively what they're saying is when you have an organization where you get insights or feedback from employees that they don't feel comfortable speaking up at work, which we see often, that you can't as a leadership team or as an organization just declare we have a culture of speaking up, so everyone should speak up. And there's 3 or 4 recommendations in this article about how to actually approach that, which is something that we've actually dealt with quite a bit. The one thing I think we would add to their list is what you talked about last time, leader predictability.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to...
Emotional predictability.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to create a culture where when people come into meetings and they sit down with you and they're open with ideas and feedback, especially people that report to you, if your reaction to them speaking up is unpredictable, then they're not going to speak up. It's just, I mean, it's like that. Think about it. If you have a parent, if you have a spouse that's unpredictable in the way they react to you when you're giving feedback or just giving an opinion, you start to do that less and less because you just don't want to deal with the unpredictability. Could be good, could be really bad. To me, that's the number one thing. If you want people to speak up, is you've got to be empathetic and emotionally predictable.
But yeah, because people are scared when leaders are unpredictable, and that's why they don't speak up, because they're scared to make a mistake. And then the other big thing that's in the newsletter, which is also part of conversations we've been having even while we've been on this trip with executives and leaders, continues to be around return to the office. Not return to work, John, return to the office. And there's so much research, and you'll see there's several articles in the newsletter this week around leaders that are proclaiming it's time for us to return to the office, but they themselves don't want to return to the office, which obviously causes a cultural problem.
But also one thing that we were talking with the CEO that we were having dinner with is how, and he was joking about it. He was like, I thought if I went back, because he goes to the office every day. And it's not easy.
Almost every CEO we know goes to the office every single day.
Correct, which I think is great. I mean, I feel like, if you're
actually every CEO we know.
If you're the CEO of a company, a large company, you're not going into the office every day. There's something wrong. But he was saying how his perception was he would go back to the office, and that would kind of be inspiration for other leaders and everyone else to be there if he was there.
Gravitational pull.
And he realized really quickly that the gravitational pull was not as strong as he thought. And I think a lot of that is because people's mindsets have shifted when it comes to in-person communication versus online communication. I don't think people feel the need to create relationships in person as much as they used to. And I think that's a problem, because I don't think it's a realistic way to live. But I think as a leader, you just have to take that into consideration, understand you have to do more to engage employees. If you want them to come back, it's not just enough for your presence to inspire them to come back.
Yeah, so it's what we talk about is it can't be just a proclamation. It can't just be the CEO showing up. There's got to be a real strategic plan to inspire people to want to come back to work. And that looks different because we'll get asked immediately.
How do we do that?
How do you do that? It looks different based on a variety of things, including what industry you're in, what type of employees you have. Obviously, if you're a manufacturing organization, everyone's already at work, where you might not have people in the corporate office coming to work. That's a much different dynamic than a technology company that, has large swaths or cohorts of employees that have always worked from home. And so it depends on the industry, it depends on the culture, but it's really about sitting down and understanding what your employee workforce looks like, devising really what I think you need to do is really think about your employee workforce as personas, and then devising a strategic plan to inspire the people that you need in the office, and really selling the WIFM, right? The what's in it for me to them, to get them back there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is it's really selling that why, because if your why is, well, I'm in the office, so everyone should be in the office, that's just not going to fly.
I think a lot of organizations forget about how powerful their purpose and their vision are to people. I think sometimes they take some time to articulate what that means. They put it on the wall, and then they don't utilize it in a way that's effective to really sell and inspire people to make that extra effort. And Wahoo's a great example. John talked about he knows that the most powerful thing that they can do is to collaborate in person for the right type of job. And so thinking really strategically about that, and then how do you inspire those people through things like purpose and innovative communication, leadership communication, quite frankly, is probably one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah, I mean, and I like because I don't think you have to be in the office every single day. Organizations need to plan the in the office time in a very coordinated and organized way so that because the reason people don't want to go in is if they feel like it's a waste of their time. If they're going to their desk and no one talks to them and they never see any leaders, they never hear from any leaders. So they're like, okay, I just sat at my desk all day by myself. I could have done that from home. I totally get that. So if you are going to bring people back to the office, I think putting a little strategy around having people in on the same day so that there can be collaboration. But then when people are there, having meetings in common spaces, encouraging people to get away from their desk, having after work events out in the courtyard or whatever it is, wherever you work, making a coordinated effort to make that experience very valuable. That's what's going to, people might never be like, oh, yay, I can't wait to wake up and go into the office. But they can say, this wasn't a complete waste of my time and I actually really enjoyed it. So you know what? Every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to be productive when I'm there because that's what our company, kind of planted the flag Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is. I just think it's important to make people feel like they're not wasting their time when they do come into the office.
100%. So it's rethinking what the workday looks like.
Yeah.
When they're there.
Well, and treating people how you want to be treated. If you're a leader, probably the reason you're coming into the office is to set an example, but also because you probably can't get as much work done at home. You go into the office and you shut your door and you lock yourself in there because you have a lot of stuff you need quiet time for. And if someone was saying you need to work from home in the middle of the kitchen with your kids running around, you would not find that productive and you wouldn't want to do it. So it's kind of like it's creating a space that's most productive for each employee. And that looks different for different types of employees, but always considering, what would you want if you were in their shoes?
Exactly. The last thing in the newsletter that I just want to mention that I know you always think these are ridiculous, but we've got flying burgers. So just make sure you click on that. It's a nice little...
I haven't clicked on it yet, so it's going to be a surprise for me too.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Utah just changed its state flag, which is really interesting. And so there's a whole New York Times piece around that.
It's very modern.
About how multiple states are changing the design of their flag, and there's a lot of controversy around it. And it's not necessarily because people don't like the design. It's just become yet another political divisive issue.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting to look at how these flags are all changing.
The Utah one is funny because it's very, what's that guy, Draper?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
I can't remember his first name, but he's like...
Draplin?
Draplin. Sorry,
Yeah.
Not Draper.
Yeah.
Thinking of...
Completely different.
Yeah, Draplin.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the father of logos, like modern day logo. It looks very... Maybe he did it. I don't know.
Like hipster style.
Like kind of like hipster camp style. Yeah.
Camp style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look like that.
Which is cool. I just don't know, does that stand the test of time or does that get changed in 10 years, 20 years?
Yeah. I don't know. It looks kind of cartoonish.
It just looks very today.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Looks like you put on a baseball hat and sell it to a bunch of hipsters today.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think this has been a really fun episode to record, just the two of us again. We might be doing another one, just the two of us, because we have some interviews lined up, but it's, as with everything, it's about timing and people's schedules. So,
Well, we've gotten feedback that people like the Chad and Nikki one-on-one episodes, and they also just like the Chad and Nikki one-on-one intro. So I think this is a good test for us.
yeah, so keep giving us feedback, and
Subscribe
and
and
share.
share.
Subscribe and share.
and rate us.
And rate us.
The
Unless it's going to be a bad rating, then don't rate us.
No one's given us a bad rating.
Oh, well,
Lot of
now
confidence
there's
there.
going to be like a troll out there, like, I'm giving them a 1.
Oh, I guess I forgot about those people. Yeah, give us a rating on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yep.
It's really helpful.
We're on everything.
And subscribe and share. That's the biggest thing. We always forget to say that, and that's why we're talking about this. I don't think we've ever had one episode where we actually remember to say that, so we would appreciate that.
Well, on our 10th episode,
Yeah.
subscribe and share.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we're off the
Over and out.
Steamboat.
We're going to go get in the car and start driving.
right.
See you in Steamboat.
Just a